Hello and thanks for joining us on your channel of choice, Africa Independent Television, AIT. This is the Signature Show. I am Mwabozi Njoku. Now, let's start today's program by thanking those of you who have been following us online. Irene Onyekachi in Dallas, USA, you said our last edition interview with Tope Fasua was very interesting. You said that you posted that edition of the program to 7 of your friends. Oh my goodness. Thank you for your encouragement. Incidentally, we did not conclude that interview, and we would bring that interview back to its conclusion in this edition of the program. And as always, we will bring you our special reports, as well as of course, our interviews and our 15-minute segment, which is Corruption Story. And by the way, I should tell you that very soon something will happen to Corruption Story. A brand new website, corruptionstory.com.ng, will soon make its appearance. And in that Corruption Story website, you will see the scrapbook and other breaking stories on corruption, and that is our own contribution to ethical revival in Nigeria. Now, somebody forwarded a post to me from the United States in which a Nigerian priest was drawing attention to what he called looming Third World War. And I dismissed the post because the presentation by the priest was along religious lines. But on Friday morning, I woke up to a very sad story. The shooting in 2 mosques in Christchurch in New Zealand. And one of the attackers posted a document online which he called his manifesto, justifying that mass murder. Let's leave that for now. All through last week, the last 3 days of last week, I waited to read from any other media house the purported release by the European Union observer team to our presidential election of the February 23rd, which indicated that that observer team has released its report, and that their report indicated that the PDP presidential candidate won that election by over 2 million votes. I think the European Union, if that post is true, seems to be talking from both sides of the mouth. And now both of them have congratulated us for successful election. So what are they posting that for, if indeed they made that post? Let me say something more serious. I want to thank the Kano State Commissioner of Police, who is a shining example, showing us that there are professional gentlemen, professional officers in the Nigerian police force. Arrested the deputy governor for infraction in the electoral process in Nasarawa local government. He had made no apologies for it. However, as he did explain later, because the deputy governor has immunity, he let him go. And just a few days ago, the police in Kano State went ahead and arrested about 5 people who were already buying permanent voter cards ahead of the supplementary elections that will round off the governorship election in that state. Well, I think we should thumbs up for the police in Kano State. Well, that is our look at events in the last 7 days. Just to tell you that we take a break here now, and when we return, it will be time for our special stories, special report, the concluding part of our interview, and of course, don't forget our corruption story. Just stay with us.
On Monday, March 5th, 2019, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, warned politicians against undermining the elections of yesterday, stating that every infraction will attract commensurate consequences. He said the police will deploy all lawful assets and assert our statutory power to deal decisively, firmly, and promptly with any person or groups that may attempt to disrupt the process.
The second purpose of this conference is to undertake national security threat analysis and level of preparation for the elections at the state command levels, discuss limitations and evaluate strategies towards managing the identified threats.
As the Inspector General was given assurances that the police was prepared to rise to its challenges of elections violence, which bedevil Nigerians' elections, the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, was raising the alarm that the ruling All Progressive Congress was plotting to kidnap the State Resident Electoral Commission as a strategy to force a postponement of the election in Rivers State. This is in addition of all other issues that he has raised. Just before the February 23 Presidential and National Assembly elections, which had been postponed for 1 week, the Kaduna State Governor, Nasir Rufai, had announced the killing of 16 persons in Kajuru area of southern Kaduna. That figure has been disputed by relevant agencies, and even the police had said that the figures could not be confirmed.
I'm from Kaduna State. I can tell you that that region is a very tense region. We've had our own issues for years, and the issues are still going on. I won't blame this current governor for that, but I want to say this current government has actually add more fuel to the fire.
Well, I don't think anything is wrong with his making public the killings that has taken place in his state. But what I took exception to is the characterization or the labeling.
After the Presidential and National Assembly elections, the police confirmed that 2 of its officers were killed and 323 persons arrested for their involvement in various elections-related offenses. Yet, high government officials, including President Muhammadu Buhari, religious leaders, and heads of traditional institutions, urged the electorate to go to the polls to exercise their civic duty. But how does the sense of foreboding an atmosphere that portends violence and the language of the politicians, which seem to inflame passion, affect the Nigerian voter and his attitude to elections?
I'm a copper. I know how many corps members died during the election. So I'm very, very disappointed in the government because they didn't provide as much security as promised.
It's not supposed to be that way, but the way they took it, that's why people are going. So some people will look at it, instead of them to injure or they wound them, they say, let me stay at home. And that's why it gives them chance to do whatever they want to do.
Very crucial that we get it right. So I would encourage Nigerians to come out because lessons would have been learned, like I said earlier, and security will be guaranteed.
So, it may not be mere apathy, a disinterestedness that makes many Nigerians to avoid the polling stations on election days. A sense of fear that taking part in the process could be a terminal risk also contributes to Nigerians staging away on election days. Such a situation means that the results of our elections and the governments that are installed thereby are merely those of a daring minority. Does it create a problem of legitimacy? Samson Remoloye, reporting for Signature News.
Elections have come, at least the presidential and National Assembly elections have come and have gone. Somebody has been re-elected as president. The president has said that he's going to run an inclusive government. I'm not very excited about inclusiveness or exclusiveness. What should be now driving the thoughts? What should be the prime preoccupation of a government in Nigeria in 2019, 21st century? They have identified challenges. What should be driving the thought of Buhari and whatever team he's going to put together? What fears? Because I believe that challenges create fears in the minds of men.
Yeah.
And such fears will make you be more creative to attend to those challenges. What challenges should be putting fear into him now to say, look, I must solve these challenges before the next 4 years?
I think before that fear would take hold, we have to be able to paint for them how it's going to affect them. All right. If they believe, unfortunately, I was somewhere the other day, they said, oh, the security infrastructure of Nigeria is built to protect people in government. That's why you see a governor, according to the police the other time, one governor has 221 policemen protecting them. That means that the president would have like maybe 1,500 policemen, maybe another 1,000 people from the SSS, and then he has all the army and come on, So the moment they feel that protected, they can't even begin to relate with the issue. So I think what we need to do to more and more to paint a picture of how, even if it doesn't affect them, their children are in trouble, right? Because at some point in time, you are going to have to leave. I know that some of them have devised a strategy by creating a dynasty. A lot of their children are now going into politics in House of Assembly and all of that stuff. Okay, fine. Hey, you know what the game is, but at the end of the day, you can't escape it. And if those children you love are going to be in serious trouble because you have created a problem for them that they can't even solve because they don't understand where the problem is coming from. They don't understand the origins of the problem. They've been to Harvard, they've been to Yale, MIT, Princeton, and what have you, right? But their country at some point in time will be taken over by these same people you have neglected. A large part of Nigeria is run by these cults now, cults. Like these used to be confraternities in university. You go to many places now, you hear that this place is under Ake, Black Axe. In other places, Eye is running them. Even men in police, in military, are part of these things. So I think it's a stage. People who have studied societies have said, there's a point at which when things sink so low, warlords will be the ones running the country. So I think we need to explore that further to let them know that look, the dangers to them, not to everybody. If you say they begin to imagine them, someone was telling me a certain former head of service who happens to be from the north of this country, they traveled together to the US. The man went with maybe 2 of his wives and maybe 15 of his children. They got to the US and everybody had an American passport. All right? So they're detached. And the point is that a lot of them never had any faith in Nigeria. Forget what it is they say when they go on the outside. So for me, I would say that the most important thing now is a bit of a long shot. However, it's something that must urgently be started now. An emergency in taking care of these children. Look, I don't want for one day to see those children being neglected the way they are, for them to go to school and not be taught. I'm saying that they wore rags. They wore rags. And I look at some of them, girls and boys, I was like, why would their mother leave them in this state? Obviously, some of them...
Are their mothers and fathers any better?
Some of them didn't have a bath in 2-3 weeks. They stank. And this is Nigeria, this is 2019. And you know what? That's our biggest capital. For those of my colleagues who talk about capital, this and that, they want to go and bring borrowing from US and do venture capital. This is your capital. The capital is here between our 2 ears. The brain is the capital. If you devalue the capital that is natural, forget about crude oil. When you devalue the capital that is natural, occurs naturally, because the thinking of man, when you grow up a mind and expose the mind properly the way you should, you can come up with so many great ideas. Everything we see around, all of this technology,
from the mind.
Capital. Do you know how much those who manufacture this camera, those who manufacture our phones, how much they've made even from us? What have we added? And I think that's the issue, that we happen to have become a people who take everything for granted and produce nothing. And we don't see any reason. So we need to go back and listen, continue to emphasize. Look, forget about doing roads. If you don't build the roads, if you don't build the minds, you cannot have the roads. If you build the mind, they do the roads for you. If you build the roads and you don't build the mind, those same vagrants will spoil the road that you're doing. And they will never appreciate it. And it will never amount to much for them.
And somebody may say that you are being utopian in the sense that if you look at Nigeria's political democracy, what is the process of the emergence of leadership from the political parties?
Yeah.
The very same thing you are complaining about.
In fact, you see, that was the reason why, naively or otherwise, we decided in my organization that, look, let's also go and form our own political party. We needed that opportunity. Nothing was going to take it away from us to say, look, let's even try, no matter how it pans out. No matter how it pans out, let's try. Let it not be that we're just sitting around complaining on Facebook and Twitter and say this country is not working. Or ejecting ourselves and going abroad. Canada is giving people visas now, but I know people who are in Canada who are complaining as well. And of course, I know people who are doing well in Canada monetarily, but they say, look, every day they see that, look, they're just out of water. They are second-class citizens in these places. So we said, okay, fine. And what do we do? So yeah, there's a huge problem with selection process of leadership. There's a huge problem with what we know as the two big parties or whatever number of parties who were funded by government in the beginning. And of course, they were lucky. They got people in different positions. They're able to get money out of the same government. They should be putting money in government. They should be giving people money, not taking the money that should be used to pay salaries and using it to propagate their parties. We have all of those problems. But I don't believe that it is. Let us not say that it is utopian for us to think for our people and give our people a vision.
Now, what I'm saying is utopian because I'm looking at the political parties, the parties themselves.
No, that's what I'm saying.
And also not to be buying into your thoughts.
No, what I'm saying is, you see, we're going to keep. My people say an ant cannot wear the trousers of a giant, but it can remove it. When the ant gets in and bites it the giant will remove his trousers sharply. And that's what we're about. We're going to keep punching in every direction until something gives in this country. Something has to give. Sir, I'm telling you that, look, all of a sudden, 91 million people in extreme poverty. You are telling me now about some places in Bauchi where they're still battling the leprosy and yours. You know what I'm saying? I've been to the southwest of Nigeria, which is, parts of southwest of Nigeria, which is, you see the palpable poverty on the street. Perhaps I'm not patronizing you. The best, I've always said that the most developed part of Nigeria is the southeast because the people somehow plugged into commerce and then bring the money back into this thing and begin to, I saw development, I saw things. The worst road in the southeast is the road from Enugu to Oka there, the so-called federal road, terrible road. But the governors over time, because your standards are high down there. You go to southwest where I'm from, you go to cities, you see mud houses all over the place. Because there's no cash flow. How do you sustain education without the cash flow? And you can see when WAEC and JAM publishes, you see Imo, Abia, Lagos, Delta. 1, 2, 3, 4, usually in that order till tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So we have to get first of all, it is not utopian for us to be able to imagine where our people should be. I've got a vision for this country. The fact that I got 4,340 votes. But I'm proud of those 4,340 votes. I came 36th in that election. I didn't run to win. I ran to learn about Nigeria. I went through the old country to see what it was about. And I knew that I wasn't going to be sitting in House of Villa. But I know that I'm going to get this platform to be able to push some of those ideas. I don't care whose ox is God. I don't care who likes it, who doesn't like it. Those ideas that I have in terms of the vision for this country, we keep pushing them, and that's the way it should be. It should be totally selfless. Take yourself out of the equation. How much food does a man want to eat? How many cars do you want to drive? Well, am I going to join all these people? You know what I mean? You get some people's houses, the 25 exotic cars in the driveway. For what? The white man is laughing at us. The entire world is laughing at us. A people who couldn't get their minds off the most primitive of things. We can't.
Now, what that brings me.
What we want to do, let the Range Rover be 2021. It hasn't even come out. Nigerians are booking it. What are we producing? 71 years since we formed the University of Ibadan. 71 years. We can't produce a bulb. Our education is a mix. Education doesn't solve problems.
That's what I'm going to do.
Part of the ideas that I ran, sir.
I want us to dwell on that.
Yes, sir. I'm going to do it. So first of all, part of the problem with those children actually has to do with universal basic education. Very, very important. Absolutely important. If you don't take care of those minds, you have created vagabonds for society. Vagrants. If anybody thinks that, you need them to be uneducated so that you continue to have shoemakers, people who do alaru in
night guards
and all of that, come on, give yourself a break. That is where the vision collapses. The vision is to say there'll be a time we will need Megad in this country. How many of these places we gone abroad that they have Megad in front of their distance? Or shoemakers? You want to take care of your shoe in the US or in the UK, there are companies that are set up for you. They say, please put a sole for me. Okay, come back into, okay, sit down there, 30 minutes, they do this thing. Those services will continue to be there.
At a more polished
at
level.
A more polished level. We cannot keep ourselves, we cannot be slaves to our past and our inefficiencies.
Now, I said I want us to dwell
But
on
at the
education.
tertiary level, sir, let me tell you,
Good.
I brought a great idea. I said, look, we have a problem with tertiary education. ASU is on strike and all of that. I don't know whether they've come back now. And, you know, people say, oh, ASU said they need 1.6 trillion. I'm thinking, what are they producing? You're teaching our children with 1950s book. I'm an economist. Every economic writer and economic so-called thinker in this country, everything I see they are trying to do is they're trying to plug into a theory in 1940-something. That, you know, one man wrote in 19th in United Kingdom that is how it ought to be. You are not interrogating what data did the man work with in 1946, in what society, how does it match with our own? And it's simple. It's what they taught us in economics. What they taught us in economics, we should be able to interrogate this. And economist is the person who never stops asking questions. I say these things to you today because I'm an economist. I never stop asking questions. I'm a real economist. You know, but here we pander. Listen, somebody comes and tells us about a theory of comparative advantage, that Nigeria should continue producing cassava and selling to the world. How many bunch of cassava do you need to buy one Toyota Prado, which is 60 million naira? Look at how many Prados we have on our street. Go to NHIS there, go to government agency. They pack them as if they are selling pure water. Do you know that it is loans we are using at the end of the day?
Let's go back to the issue I was going to raise concerning our tertiary education.
Tertiary education.
Do you know that out of this studio I told you a little story? That I fought the Civil War from 1968 to 1970. And that in the course of the Civil War, I saw products of Nigerian universities, products of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, products of University of Nigeria, Nsukka, products of Jaba Polytechnic, perform engineering feats. Now, I saw ordinary tippers converted to tanks. I saw young men who were studying strength of metals in the universities test steel and make it as armor for those emergency tanks. I saw crude petroleum being refined during Biafra to even fly the aircraft. I saw Professor Ezekwe design, they manufactured the Ogbunigwe. I saw Biafra launching missiles 14 kilometers distance and landing on target. These were products of Nigerian universities. Professor Jacobi discovered the cholera vaccine. The world is using it. An engineer from Ife, University of Ife, designed the pounder yam, the machine for pounder yam. It's being manufactured in Japan. I ask you the question, Tope.
I'm going to give you.
When will we return to a tertiary education that services the needs of both our economy and wider society?
I'm going to give you like 2 or 3 examples, sir. Number one, there was a certain Professor Omomechili, I think, in University of Ife. It was a VC around the 80s or thereabout. You know, there was a time, and I got this story from a certain medical doctor gentleman who works in the National Hospital, who was in a very distinguished man, who was in university there. And they had a problem with water, right? The student had to trek 5 kilometers every morning to get water. So the professor actually called one of his friends, who's a professor in environmental sciences or something. My friend, we have to solve this problem. So what did they first do? So they thought about it, then they started doing the gutters around this thing to save rainwater, number one. Then after they progressed to the level of, there's a small stream that runs around the university, they dammed it. Today now it's still there, it's called, it's just a short name, something dam. So if anybody Googles dam inside University of Ife, that dam is there till tomorrow. The same gentleman told me at some point they had a problem where students went to University of Ife health center. Ordinary Panadol is not there, not talk of syringe, just like Aso Villa clinic. So the students, led by Femi Falana, they protested to the VC. Said, "Oga, our friends are dying. Simply ordinary this thing." Meanwhile, we have pharmacy department. They forced the pharmacy. The students were very happy. The pharmacy department very happy to manufacture, to produce simple paracetamol, simple small this thing, analgesic and so on. And the student took it. He asked me, where is all of those experiments today? Then he talked about crude oil. The only people say we don't have. Look, Nigeria manufactures so many liters of this thing, so many barrels every this thing. We sell everything for peanuts at $60. The only way crude oil makes sense is when you get derivatives after refining. The derivatives, including Vaseline, including grease, including all this oil, some kind of polymer and all that. Let me tell you, inside, women doing a period and all that, inside the pad is a crude oil product. Imagine how many billion women are in this world who need it every month. A woman, we have to import from him what we have. So now, we see that in the Niger Delta, some of those boys who didn't even go to school, they say that they bring the crude oil, they put it in a huge vat, they put fire on it, they put one pipe here, diesel is coming here, kerosene is coming there at the end of the day. Do you know what happened? What happens is from time to time, men of the Nigeria Civil Defense, they go there. The final product, I saw those things inside jerry can, inside this huge nylon bag. They slash it and empty the thing inside the river. That is the story of your country. Not only have these boys, given that it may be illegal or whatever, but a double jeopardy of emptying diesel that has been refined inside the river to kill the many fishes there and destroy the lives of the people. That is Nigeria for you. The only refining capacity in any university in this country is in ABU. Imagine Zaria. Imagine where the source of crude oil is. But they have capacity to refine 1 barrel of crude every day. Not that they are using it, but for experiment. Of course, yes. For maybe they have petroleum engineering, this thing there, I don't know. 1 barrel every day. Now you have University of Port Harcourt. It's been there forever. Otuoke University, Federal University. Niger Delta University, Uniport, UNIU, Unical. And none of them have capacity to refine crude oil. And the crude oil is right there. If we were thinking people, even for the sake of teaching the children, you are telling me somebody that said, look, I'm an engineer, but I don't know anything, I need to know more. Yeah. If we were thinking people, all of these schools will be able to refine this thing. Now, our next level of emancipation and growth for the economy of this country will come from those tertiary institutions. For as long as they ignore them, this country is not going anywhere. We have to use that same one fell swoop to change the curriculum and the orientation in this country. So we're moving the curriculum, and that's part of what I was selling in my campaign. Of course, nobody, only 4,340 people listening, which is good enough. We have to move away from the normal theoretical teaching, and move to practical. In every study, we need to begin to redesign. It's going to be a big war. Because let me tell you, I also suspect that some of the academia are part of the problems of this country. Some of them are indoctrinated to ensure that Nigeria never moves forward. I've also even worked with people who are in academia, professors, who will tell you that, look, my friend, my own is to tell the government, if they like, you are in the same problem. It's not for you to just do the work, collect your dollar, you travel abroad, get a grant and all of that, and come and bamboozle us here. We are in this problem together. Problem solver. So every department, begin to imagine the department. If you are in civil engineering department, there's nothing wrong if year 2, every semester, you are doing project, even from year 1. And they say, okay, your own is year 2, so. Group yourself, like in the US, academic, it has to go into group work now. If you see where they dump year 4 project, you will weep. After 2 or 3 years, they sell it to one person selling bomb somewhere. You can go to buy Bali and you see your own project. They use it to. So if you are one of those people who are serious, you did this work, you rack your brain. You see the same thing they use to sell corn for you. Meaning that in a country that does not appreciate the power of innovation and intellect, It's a dead country. Listen, our biggest fear we should be selling to these people is that one day some sporadic level of violence will begin to happen. Nobody will know where and how.
Okay.
Sir,
I'm a Nigerian. Let us say, God forbid.
God forbid. Sir, let me say. So if you are in engineering department, civil engineering, metal engineering, material engineering, all of those things, why are you not building roads? All of these street roads in all of our city, some streets are dug up everywhere, problem. The governor is waiting to get allocation from Abuja so he can issue 2 billion contract. As he issue 2 billion, collect 1.3 billion out of it. Tell the contractor, my friend, go and do the rest with the rest of the world.
Charles Dickens, just wait. Charles Dickens says to me,
yes, sir.
Ask no questions and be told no lies.
Exactly. That, so why can't a Department of Civil Engineering say, okay, this is food to Owerri. Department of Civil Engineering year 3, we did this work. And put your list in there. And they will be graded on that work they do, number 1. Number 2, they will be paid.
They'll be paid.
Give them 40,000 every semester and see whether the youth of this country will not transform this country. And that's the way to open up the entire country. All right, that's civil engineering. Electrical engineering students are the ones that will eventually power this country. Forget what Fashola is doing, bringing power plant from abroad, keep it in this thing. The power plant will work for 3 years, begins to cough because you have no input in it. Our refineries that they are talking about, an Italian company was the one that installed them. The other time they went and called them back to come and do turnaround and they said, well, these things are expired. We can't even talk. We don't know. Nobody's doing it because they didn't. Now people are saying that refinery lasts 30 years. Wrong, it doesn't. It will last 150 years if you are the one that produced it yourself or you understand the idea behind the production of it. I've been to refineries in Houston, in Texas. Some of them been around for 70, 80 years. But they know how to maintain their refinery because it's their technology.
Their thoughts.
So electrical engineering students are the ones we should send to village as their project. Go to this next village, power that place, or whether if it's solar, you can do. I don't care. If you give them some sort of incentivization, solar or whether na wind or whether na this thing, whatever it is you can do, power that village.
But do not forget that we're talking to the present government because in the next 4 years they'll be in the driving seat, and we're tossing these ideas and conversing on them as a means of also pointing out certain things that need to be addressed and how. And one of the challenges every other government has faced in this country is the capacity of the civil service to deliver on the thoughts of the politicians, if they have any, whenever they have one. You and I can sit here and pontificate, and you envision, but it will take a civil service that buys into those ideas.
You have to make them buy. Good. You have to make them buy. But I'm coming, sir. I was going to say that, mind you, I want you to follow my thoughts that, look, not only engineering students are relevant. Okay, so you're studying history, sociology, anthropology. There's work for you to do immediately in this country. Number 1, send the history student to go and document the history of the village near them, the town near them. All right? The sociology student, anthropology, philosophy, they can do that work together. Document this thing. Document languages. It takes a white man to come to Nigeria to tell you that there's 200 languages in Adamawa.
And that the other one could go extinct in the next 50 years.
What are we doing? So how do you ensure it doesn't go extinct? Students of IT should be the one punching it database on the internet so that we should begin to, if we wanted to be a serious people, we should have an encyclopedia of Igbo language, of Yoruba language, of Hausa language, of Efik language, of Ibibio language, of Bekwara language. We should have, if we want to take ourselves serious. Look, these are the kind of visions that I come with. And that's a vision the leaders will come with. And if you look at that vision, you realize that, look, the entire country should be a huge construction site. Not only physically, mentally, philosophically, intellectually. Everybody should be busy. And everybody should be paid. I don't care if inflation gets to 20% in that regard, everybody should be paid. That's how they want to cut, which takes you to the issue of civil service.
Very important.
Sir, let me tell you, there's a huge misnomer that goes on, and that's one of the key reasons I kept on running. Because I saw that many other people who were running don't see that problem and that vision. There's a big problem. They say the civil service is too large. How can they should reduce it? Reduce it. I went online and searched, found out that in the United States, 17% of the workforce works for government. In the UK, 21%. In Nigeria, it's less than 4%. In South Africa, it's 18%. It's only in failed countries that you have 3%, 4%, like Nigeria. Meaning there's no, what we in economics, where we call the public goods, the provision of public good. Public good is education, security, environment, health. By every means, a government must ensure that it backs up its people. How many times have you seen your friend, you watch AIT or channel or whatever, and you just say, please, I want to go to India. I need 20 million, please. Your friend, are we saying that they don't have kidney problem, they don't have cancer in other countries? How many times have we gone abroad and seen their people begging for money on this thing? Which is something that the government should provide for them, if they value the lives of people. The big problem, one problem we have right now is that people don't value human lives. We're still living very primitive. In those days where they can carry somebody and bury him, we still have people running government who have that mindset. That, oh, one king has died, go and carry 70 people and bury him and bury them alive. Those are the kind of people we have. All right, and we need to take them forward to that level of civility. Now, listen, the vision, first of all, civil servants are not needed in secretariat, carrying files up and down. That's not where we need them. They are needed in the villages. Do you know we've abandoned our village? If you are flying from here to Lagos, when the plane is a bit low, you watch now, you see all those small villages. Think about what goes on there. It used to be that when we couldn't fly like that, we would get on the road, then you stop in Ore, then you stop in Ore, then you eat here, then you do this, then you move small, you get to Munede, then you do this one, then you move small, then you were spending money. Now all of those places, a lot of the places are abandoned. We speed past them as if they don't deserve a life. Those civil servants should be sent to those villages. There's work to be done. Sir, I wrote an article, even a book. I called it Change is Going to Come. And then I wrote an article, one key article inside. I said, look, this country, we should launch something called the cleanest, safest, and most organized country in Africa project. We should now divert a lot of our energies, our youthful energies, and so on, towards making Nigeria clean. If you went to Abeokuta, the guy tried to achieve that. When he builds his bridges, he gets some guys to do a good painting on them. I went there during this campaign season, not one poster was pasted on those things, on those bridges. One. Give that to Amosu. When you build a bridge, paint it nicely. These are what they call tourist attraction. People come from Amosu, oh man, I said that they will stay there, they will take picture. Tourist attraction. It's not 5-star hotel. We get it so wrong when we think that when you ask ministers of tourism, they say, hey, yes, we just built a 5-star, we're bringing a Marriott from it. Oyibo man that's coming here is not coming to stay in your Marriott.
Yes, come to experience your country.
Experience your country, livability. So, that's what we need. Cleanest. The youth of this country are the ones that will make this country. This country is filthy from beginning to the end. We have an epidemic of nylon bag from beginning to the end. It's even affecting farmland in some places. So, safest, the same people, the same youth of this country are the ones that will keep this country. So when I went to Singapore, I could say I didn't see any policeman that looked like he was 25. They were younger. Look at them, they look like teenagers. Singapore police. I didn't see any old person among them at all. They are the ones that will keep this country. We need more policemen. 400,000 policemen, half of them carrying bags for people. Another 80,000 out of that 400,000 goes police. And you say our children don't have work. Well, somebody was telling me of a graduate of mathematics who is doing driver work. I say, in a country where you need mathematics teachers, what can we do to attract those people? So, listen, the public sector needs to be a lot bigger for us to provide what they call public goods. If we have problem in educational sector, it's human beings that will do the work. Sure. Loans from IMF and World Bank will never get it done. Don't deceive yourself. And now we must begin to take our civil service to put in some technology there. Let them sign in by biometrics and sign up by biometrics. Force them to come to work. Let them go to those, when they clock in, let them go to that village. Even if it's to buy lunch in that village, they have done a job. And that is how you're going to unleash the power of this economy. The power of this economy has been shrunken to the cities. If it's not Abuja, Port Harcourt, Lagos, Kano, nothing is happening elsewhere. In most of the state capital, if you are not connected to government house, nothing for you. The people are waiting. They're waiting for the inspiration that would. I wish Nigerians luck. I wish the present government luck. But we are here to continue to offer our ideas for free.
Well, it could not have been more interesting. Somebody who's got not just passion, but also a conviction. I've been conversing, almost 1 hour now with Tope Fasua. He is an economist and the presidential candidate of the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party. I think I got it right.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Tope, it's always exciting conversing with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Let's continue the conversation on Signature Show on AIT. My name remains Kwabos and Jock. It's always exciting being with you. Let's meet same time on next Sunday. Good afternoon.
We don't carry come again this Sunday for corruption tori. And I keep proper salute to tell you, welcome, come to program. My name is Ufoma Eguriasi. Last week, we been talk about the matter of waiting corruption be, understand and proper how it take the show for we society. Now, when you they collect bribe for work where you supposed to, or you turn your office to toll gates, make people they pay money before they feel pass through. Or you hold another man make him no get work. Sake of you want your own townsperson make he get that work. Shebi belle they sweet you when you they do am. But what thing you they do? How they take affect with country people and how they look this country and they look this government? Today for corruption tori, we go look the thing where corruption they do us for this country. They make country people they see how they take the see things and how we go take tackle am. It just be like the matter of chicken and egg and which one they come out to the other one. Shey na the egg where they crack for chicken to come out or the chicken where go lay the egg. Which one na they come first? Well, corruption they yeye with values for this country. Make us be like say we no be human beings sake of wickedness. But it gets some people wey don yarn say now because country people no even get the values at all safe. Now corruption full ground for the country.
There is what is called the Robert Krieger's formula for corruption. And he says corruption is equal to monopoly plus discretion minus transparency minus accountability and minus integrity. Or in other words, whenever there is monopoly and discretion and there is absence of transparency, accountability and integrity, corruption will thrive. So when people see that if they use their time in corruptible transactions, it will give them reward and there is no fear whatsoever of any consequence, then there is a likelihood to engage in corruptible transactions.
So that's why we have this debasement of our values, denunciation of those things that bind society together, those higher ethics that makes everybody look up to something more noble and higher. So we destroyed it, but morally, but in law, and our society is where it is today. So it's beyond stealing money.
If the Constitution is going to be adjusted in such a way that it will reflect a restructured nation, I believe that it will, to a large extent, curb the corruption in Nigeria. Restructured constitution in such a way that you can have the particular regions, or if you like the states, or whichever components of Nigeria to have control over the security of the state or the region, to have control over the economy of that state or region, to have control over the security of that state or region, and to have control over the natural resources of that region or state. I believe that it will help the situation to a very large extent.
Whether na corruption dey yeye with values as country people, or na because as country people we no even get the correct values and behavior wey go make us dey without mago. Corruption don chop this country, sha. E don waka around enter many parts for Nigeria.
An Inspector General of Police will retire, and then there are other people immediately below him who the system has screened from their recruitment to that period when their own superior is retiring. Are those people not good enough from among them to be selected and be appointed into such position, especially in view of the fact that experience counts, especially also in view of the fact that that kind of a system is a system that gives respect to seniority? I don't know whether perhaps I will stumble on the answer, genuine one for that matter.
If you look at the trajectory of corruption in Nigeria, you see that during the First Republic, when the coup took place, the coup plotters talked about 10%ers. At that time, and in fact it was almost public knowledge that when government officials give you contract, you give them 10% kickback. Until he graduated to 100%.
Wetin corruption dey do now for this country dey plenty. E sit down berekete for different agencies and organizations, come make them dey do wuru work wey no dey benefit country people instead of the better work wey country people need. E dey block with political and economical growth to some make country people come balance for inside poverty, dey suffer more. Na him even dey cause katakata, dey make country people no dey believe inside with government again.
In the 1980s, the percentage of people living in poverty in Nigeria was around 20%. But for the past few years, it has grown to up to about 70%, making Nigeria the capital of poverty in the world. So that is to tell you that there have been many political and policy errors, which we need to change. And it's only the citizens of Nigeria that can change it.
That's why we have arrested development. That's why there is no Nigerian dream. So it has affected our development. The best example is Ajokuta. We become like it was supposed to launch our development into some form of modernity. The steel, you use it to produce a flat steel for factories, cars, everything. We never allowed it to take off. Even when we said we were going to privatize it, we simply gave it to some people who were doing asset stripping to strip it off and sell it. So most Nigerians are not in a position to think of the public good. It is now about the pedestrianization of the atomization, the atomic idea of myself, my family.
Corruption has actually negatively affected Nigeria as a country. It has retarded our economic growth and development. It has affected our educational institutions and progress and growth. It has affected our health delivery system. It has affected our infrastructural development. Indeed, everything that is a problem for us to a very large extent is attributed to corruption.
If the different government wey we don dey get all this while for this country sabi say corruption dey finish this country dey go, abeg, why dem never fit comot am patapata?
We are dealing with men and women who have no compassion for their fellows, who literally, with utmost respect, at the risk of sounding, I don't know how harsh, who have sold their minds to the devil. Why do I say so? They impoverish everybody except a few people in their class and their relatives. So people become expendable and purchasable. So when you impoverish a people, pay them peanuts, don't take care of their welfare, so they become cheap. What will you tell such a man or woman? He has to survive. So they made the world so hard. That's why it is easy to put 5,000 naira as the cost of a vote. Now multiply, just divide 5,000 naira by 4 years. You discover that what they're offering you may not be up to. I mean, it may not be more than 2 3 naira in a day. And what's 2 3 naira? What can you buy? Tom buttermint?
Nigeria has institutionalized corruption. When you go to the ministries, a lot of times, if you have a file that you need to move from one table to the other, that file will not be moved until monies are given.
If we government, they look their party eye before to tackle corruption for this country, we the country people will be the ones where they suffer shege for the hand of corruption. We no go fit sit down balance for fence. They look the two sides with confusion. Oh.
The second is society. To sufficiently mobilize the society to be angry about corruption. And there's a lot of ways that this can be done, even from government. Recognizing people of integrity but do not have money. If you go to the honors list in Nigeria today, from independence to date, if you remove all coup plotters and you remove everyone that has something to do with EFCC, you will not see anybody in the list. So there needs to be a deliberate effort to promote integrity and not promote people who have money. In fact, one of the things we have not really realized in this country is the power of citizens. You know, at times we make a lot of errors, appealing to politicians not to rig elections, appealing to politicians not to steal money, appealing to public servants not to steal money. Those appeals can never work unless citizens take their destiny in their own hands.
Corruption is even responsible for regulatory failure. Regulatory failure in terms of, look at, it was Akunyili that raised the banner of NAFDAC. Since she's left, are you still hearing a lot? The regulatory failure, you can even take it towards what CBN is doing. CBN's regulations and poor understanding of economic management and the monetary policy is leading us to where we are. How do I say so? We have one of the least savings rates to GDP in the world. And how do you build a savings culture? It is to encourage savings. Now, today in Nigeria, if you are to save 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, between the regime that CBN is sanctioned for banks, you will not get interest up to 5%. You get 2 or 3%. You will not get up to 5%. Meanwhile, the inflation rate is about double digits. Now, what that means is that if you are giving 3% interest rate as interest at the time inflation rate is at 12%, that means you have depreciated your money by about 9%. So that bank you put money is not a real store of value. It's a store, is a place for depreciation. Then you turn around and say you want to borrow 1 million from the bank. You are asked to bring 35% or 20 something. First of all, you can't use that to grow the economy. The private sector can't borrow to do that. And then you are discouraging people. You could as well put your money in your house if you feel strong enough that nobody can break in there. So in serious regimes, there must be a corridor where you tie the difference between the deposit rate, what they pay you for keeping your money in the bank, and the lending rate, the credit rate, what the bank lets out, should be a corridor of about 400 to 500 basic points. You cannot be giving people 3, 4, 5% and then lending money at 35. And when you say the cost of doing business, that's bunkum, because this is corruption. It's corruption. If it was not, because this is an incestuous relationship between the regulatory agency, which is central bank, and the banks. No, there's no way you do this kind of Madness. It's madness. The difference between 3 or 4% and 20-something is insanity, is madness, is stealing. It is simple mischief. There's no way you can describe anything short of this. I can't describe it. It's stealing.
Now, when country people join hand with government to shine eye, see wetin corruption they do us for this country, make we put am for mind to face am with truth, fight am to the end. Now corruption fits to leave us finally. Shebo una see say not be only the person wey something of corruption do, na corruption dey affect. All we values for this country, na corruption dey yeye finish. And we institutions them just they fail because of the mago where some people gather they do. I gats tell una say now all of us for this country, na corruption dey affect oh. Now here we go match break put for corruption tori this Sunday. Till reach next week Sunday when corruption tori go come your way again. My name na Ufoma Egoriasi, and I want wish you proper week where mago no dey inside at all. Bye bye.